Hey, D, so Eric Servant said a transgender would never be accepted. After 8 weeks of trial, Diddy was finally sentenced in a case with a powerful impact. The artist was convicted on 2 counts related to prostitution, but acquitted of more serious charges, including sex trafficking and extortion. This verdict came as a shock, as many believed Diddy would pay for his sinful actions, but instead he was released with relative ease. However, this matter did not end there. A video clip showing Diddy out on bail after being acquitted was leaked and quickly went viral on social media platforms. The image of Diddy smugly raising his fist and walking out of the courthouse with his family carefree and unbothered enraged the public. They couldn't help but ask, after all the things he's done, why was Diddy released so easily? Did the court truly administer justice? Or was Diddy's power so great that it could turn the tide in a deadlock? Outrage reached its peak as images of Diddy laughing and chatting with his family as they left the courthouse surfaced, while his victims could only remain silent. Overview of the case and verdict. In 2025, Diddy was involved in a major scandal related to serious allegations of sex trafficking and extortion. These accusations resulted in an 8-week trial in federal court, attracting public and international media attention. The case against Diddy stemmed from a series of grave allegations that he had exploited his power and wealth to run a cross-border sex trafficking network. Victims, including women and male sex workers, testified that they were coerced into transactional sexual activities to serve the needs of Diddy and his associates. These accusations included claims that Diddy lured victims into orgies where drugs and sex were indispensable elements. Some victims also alleged that they were forced to participate in these parties under threats of violence, both physical and psychological. The investigation, which spanned several months, was the result of a comprehensive campaign by law enforcement. Federal police intervened after receiving reports from victims' former girlfriends of Diddy and witnesses who had attended the parties he hosted. Some victims, having signed detailed affidavits, described the coercive behavior of Diddy, including the uses of violence and threats to control them. Some victims agreed to enter witness protection programs, fearing significant retaliation from Diddy if they spoke out. Investigators gathered crucial evidence from Diddy's mobile phones and those of his close associates, including messages, calls, and documents exchanged with individuals in his sex trafficking network. Texts Diddy sent to victims and business partners indicated his direct involvement in organizing the parties and scheduling sexual encounters as requested. The primary victims in this case were young women whom Diddy had introduced into his network over the years. Some of these women had been in romantic relationships with him, while others were recruited through business contacts or intermediaries. One prominent victim, a model, accused Diddy of using his power and money to force her to participate in sex parties. She claimed that on one occasion she was instructed to have sex with others under the supervision of Diddy and his associates. In addition to the primary victims, the case also featured key witnesses, including a longtime friend of Diddy. This friend testified in court about Diddy's frequent organization of parties that involved other artists and celebrities. According to the witness, Diddy had repeatedly convinced and demanded that women participate in sexual encounters at these events. The witness also testified that Diddy paid participants and ensured the secrecy of these activities. Investigators also collected a series of important pieces of evidence from Diddy's mobile phones and email. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence was a series of messages exchanged via messaging apps where Diddy discussed the logistics of arranging sexual encounters and the method of paying for these services. Audio recordings were also obtained from phone calls Diddy made to victims where he demanded their participation in orgies and threatened them if they did not comply. Additionally, some documents found at properties owned by Diddy indicated that he had used these locations to host sex parties.
Everything
Payment
inside
receipts,
Solitary
shady
Block C
contracts, and
continued
cash
as
transactions
before.
were linked to the sexual
Everything
encounters
except the
that Diddy
fear.
had orchestrated.
If a female
Despite the
warden can
overwhelming
vanish
evidence
after
in
a
the case,
single
after
note,
a
thing
prolonged
except the
trial,
fear.
jury acquitted
If a
Diddy of
female
serious
warden
charges
can
of
vanish
sex
after a
trafficking
single
and
note,
extortion.
ones
This
who
surprised
once
and
worked
angered many, as
overnight
the
in that
actions Diddy
area.
was accused
The
of were
ones who
extremely
filed for leave
serious and
without
could
giving
have
a
had a
reason.
severe impact
The
on
ones
the
who
lives of
saw
the
but
victims.
96
Diddy
hours
was only
after she
convicted on
filed her
charges of
complaint.
prostitution,
The
which led
changelog
many
was
to question the
executed from the
fairness of
system's
justice system.
highest
This verdict
access level
became even more
server, a
controversial
device
when
bearing
Diddy
the
showed no
identifier
remorse or regret after the
DCCA1,
trial. He walked out
located
of the
in the
courtroom with a
coordination
smug
office on
smile
the
and
4th
even
floor
raised
of the
his fist as a
Security
sign of his
Administration
power.
Wing.
Meanwhile, the victims were
Only
left in
2
silence,
individuals
unable to
possess the
speak out
authority
and
to
defend their
perform a
right.
system-level
Leaked clip of Diddy out on bail. After the shocking trial and controversial verdict, all attention turned to Diddy, who had just been acquitted of serious charges that many believed he deserved to pay for. However, the story did not end there. A leaked clip showing Diddy walking out of the courthouse after his acquittal quickly went viral on social media. This video was not just a simple scene, but a major catalyst sparking outrage among the public who couldn't stop questioning the fairness of the legal system. The leaked video shows Diddy, accompanied by his family and legal team, walking out of the courthouse with a relieved expression, completely unbothered. While his supporters clapped and chattered joyfully, Diddy raised his right fist in a gesture of pride, signaling his satisfaction after escaping the most serious charges. This scene not only reflected his arrogance, but also strongly affirmed Diddy's power in a case involving sex crimes where
It
victims
started
had
with a
endured
knock,
unhealable
then a
trauma.
battering
When
ram.
watching this clip,
On a
many
quiet
people
morning
felt
in March
enraged, even
2024,
believing that Diddy was
Homeland
mocking
Security
justice with
agents
his
stormed
nonchalant
Sean Diddy
demeanor and
Combs'
lack of
LA
remorse.
mansion
Could
in
this
the
be a
elite
sign that
neighborhood of
Diddy
Palm
is
Beach
not
Hills.
only protected
Not
by
long
lawyers,
after,
but also
another team hit
demonstrates
his
the
Miami
manipulation
property
of
on the
power
glitzy
where
Star
individuals
Island.
with the
These
financial
weren't
and
just
social
casual
influence
searches,
can
these
continue
were
to live
federal raids
comfortably
with
despite the
helicopters
harm they have
overhead,
caused?
agents in
To
full
others, the
tactical
public
gear,
outrage
and
stemmed
entire
from
blocks
several
on
factors. The
lockdown.
biggest
What were
being
they
the
looking for?
injustice of Diddy's
That question
relatively
didn't
easy
stay
release
unanswered for
despite
long.
all that he had
Inside
done.
the
While his
sprawling
victims remained
17,000
silent,
square foot
unable to
mansion,
speak out,
agents
Diddy
uncovered a
emerged from the
scene that left
courthouse with
even
joy and
seasoned investigators allegedly
self-satisfaction. This
planned
raised a
and
huge
controlled the
question
sex
about the fairness of the
performances,
judicial
which
system.
he
Did he
called
truly receive a fair
payoffs,
trial, or is he
and
simply
he
a man
often
with enough power
electronically
and money
recorded
to
them.
manipulate the
A
outcome
few
of the
bottles.
case?
We're
One
talking
reason the leaked
hundreds.
clip
It
caused
looked
such
less like a
controversy is because Diddy has a successful career and a huge influence. Not only is he a famous star, but also a successful businessman who owns major brands in the music and fashion industries. This power could cause people in society and even within the judicial system to view him in a different light. Despite facing serious criminal accusations, Diddy could still enjoy freedom and be treated leniently. Scenes like those in the clip only fuel suspicions that the legal system may have failed in its duty to protect victims and deliver justice. However, the key question is whether Diddy's release was due to the intervention of powerful forces. Could the legal system be manipulated by his wealth and influence? With such strong accusations and evidence, the fact that he was only convicted of lesser charges and granted freedom demonstrates something wrong in the justice system. Public reaction to the court's verdict and the leaked clip was an undeniable wave of outrage. Those following the case from the beginning were deeply upset when they saw Diddy leave the courthouse so easily while his victims remained voiceless. Is justice only for the powerful and wealthy while the powerless have to endure unspeakable suffering? Women's rights organizations and LGBT+ advocacy groups immediately spoke out, criticizing the lack of fairness in the verdict. Activists and those fighting for the rights of sexual assault victims argued that Diddy not only escaped his crimes but also continued to live under the protection of power and money. The victims in this case, despite their bravery in speaking out, could only remain silent. They were unprotected, uncompensated, and unable to assert their rights in a society where power and money can alter the outcomes of such serious cases. Meanwhile, online communities reacted strongly as the leaked clip quickly spread across social media platforms. Posts and comments criticizing the injustice of the case flooded newspapers, forums, and social media. Why is someone like Diddy, after everything he's done, treated this way? Has money and power protected him? Was the most common question on articles and posts. The clip, though a small detail, forced society to confront the question of fairness in handling cases related to power and money. Meanwhile, Diddy's victims who had endured manipulation and abuse throughout the ordeal were left unprotected. They lost their voices, were deprived of their rights, and received no acknowledgement from the public or the legal system. Despite facing significant hardship and pain in speaking out, the ultimate result was silence. Diddy's release not only represented an injustice to the victims, but also raised the question of whether the powerful can continue to manipulate the legal system and society. The image of Diddy walking out of the courthouse laughing and chatting with his family and legal team is in stark contrast to the suffering his victims endured. This clearly shows the differential treatment between those with power and those without a voice. And as public outrage continues to swell, the question of fairness in the legal system becomes clearer than ever. The power and manipulation of Diddy in the case. Diddy's case was not just a legal battle between the involved parties, but a confrontation between power and justice. With an estimated fortune of hundreds of millions of dollars and worldwide fame, Diddy is not just a music star, but also a producer, entrepreneur, and representative of major brands. His financial power and influence in the entertainment industry became a central factor in analyzing how his case was handled. Diddy is not just an artist, but a highly influential figure in the global music and entertainment industry. He is the founder and operator of several major music companies and has collaborated with a long list of famous artists. With his ability to manage major brands and amass a huge fortune, Diddy possesses not only financial power, but also the ability to connect with influential people across various fields, including politics, society, and media. These connections have allowed him to build a strong support network, creating an influence that cannot be ignored. In this case, it is undeniable that power in the music industry provided Diddy with significant advantages. When Diddy was accused of committing crimes, his fame and relationships with powerful figures in the entertainment industry somewhat influenced public perception of the case. Did Diddy's fame and fortune make the public and the legal system view the case more lightly? His connections with major figures in the music industry who have global influence raise concerns about the fairness of this trial. Diddy not only has power in the entertainment industry, but he is also a savvy businessman with strong financial relations. These relationships have helped him not only maintain his power, but also secure support from key partners. In fact, part of the power that Diddy holds comes from his ability to build relationships with powerful figures, including tycoons, politicians, and leaders in other fields. This network may have played a key role in lessening his sentence in the case, and the major issue that the public faces when following this case is whether Diddy can use his wealth and relationships to ensure his protection. Diddy's lawyers quickly built a strong legal strategy, from selecting top experts in law to linking with influential partners to apply pressure on the court. Did Diddy's financial power influence the outcome of the case? Could the light sentences be explained by the political and business relationships that Diddy had cultivated over the years? Moreover, the event of Diddy being released after the trial led many to suspect the involvement of powerful forces. Were officials influenced by Diddy's wealth and influence in the entertainment industry? This manipulation not only existed in behind-the-scenes negotiations, but was also evident in the way Diddy was treated differently from other defendants in similar cases. In addition to his financial power and political connections, Diddy also has the ability to manipulate public opinion and even the trial process. His fame helped Diddy easily guide public perception of the case in his favor. His image as a creative, talented businessman and cultural icon was maximized by media companies to soften the severe accusations against him. However, Diddy's display during the trial after the verdict was also a clear sign of his power in front of the public. His actions, embracing his lawyers, raising his fist in satisfaction, and smiling smugly as he walked out of the courtroom, were not just the actions of a winner in a trial, but also a way to assert his personal power. This gesture raised the question of whether Diddy truly felt guilty for what he had done, or if he was simply showing his disregard for justice and his own protection. To many, this scene was not just Diddy's smugness, but also a form of contempt toward the victims and those who had fought for justice throughout the investigation. Was Diddy saying that he had won and everything was just a game of power? The question of his manipulation of both the public and the court became clearer when looking at this action. The Diddy case has led the public to question the fairness of the legal system. If Diddy can use his power and wealth to protect himself, can others, those without the resources to navigate the legal system, receive fair protection? The public's response with clear outrage is a strong reflection of the discontent about how financial power can affect fairness in legal judgments. The question the public asks is whether justice is truly served in a society where financial power can change the outcome of a serious case. Is the legal system strong enough to resist manipulation by powerful individuals like Diddy? These are important questions that not only those following the case, but society as a whole must answer.
Everything inside solitary block C continued as before. Everything except the fear. If a female warden can vanish after a single note, except the fear. If a female warden can vanish after a single note, ones who once worked overnight in that area, the ones who filed for leave without giving a reason, the ones who saw but 96 hours after she filed her complaint. The changelog was executed from the system's highest access level server, a device bearing the identifier DCCA1, located in the coordination office on the 4th floor of the Security Administration Wing. Only 2 individuals possess the authority to perform a system-level person
could so easily escape serious charges. This led many to question the fairness of the trial process. Organizations fighting for the rights of sexual assault victims spoke out strongly, asserting that the verdict not only hurt the victims, but also sent a false message about power and inequality in the judicial system. Most of the public and experts believe that Diddy exploited his power to manipulate the case, as evidenced by his response after the trial. After being released, he showed no remorse, regret, or fear of consequence. Instead, he exuded smugness and a sense of victory, as if everything was just a power game. This only deepened the frustration and pain of the public, particularly sexual assault victims who could not accept that people like Diddy could escape punishment simply because they had money and power. The overly lenient treatment of Diddy forced victims to confront the feeling of abandonment and lack of protection in a society they had trusted. The outrage was not only confined to posts on forums or social media, but also spread beyond women's rights organizations. People from all walks of life began to speak out, criticizing the legal system and the injustices in handling the case. Posts and videos about Diddy's case on social media garnered millions of views, and most of them expressed frustration and demanded justice for the victim. Hashtags like Share Justice for the Victims, #TreeDiddy, and #Justice quickly spread, reflecting the divide in public opinion. A quick survey conducted by social research organizations found that the majority of respondents believed Diddy had used his power to escape serious charges. They argued that the sentence Diddy received was a prime example of the legal system's failure to protect the vulnerable, and that only those with money and power could escape their crime. Concerns about Diddy's manipulation of power in the case spread throughout society, especially as his victims, who had faced violence and manipulation, were not heard or given justice. The scene in the leaked video not only fueled the outrage, but also highlighted the difference between those with power and those without a voice.
The video with Diddy walking out of the courthouse with a smug smile not only made the public angry but also evoked the pain of the victim. To them, this image felt like a statement that they were not valued, that their suffering was just a small part of the power game played by people like Diddy. The victims, despite their efforts to speak out during the investigation and trial, did not receive the recognition or protection they deserved. When Diddy walked out of the courtroom raising his fist in victory, they felt abandoned, not just by the legal system, but also by society, where the power of someone like Diddy could change the outcome of a serious case. This leaked clip, though only a few seconds long, had a powerful impact on the public's psyche. It not only exposed the injustice in the legal system, but also highlighted the helplessness of the victims in seeking justice. Will they continue to face silence and irreparable trauma while the perpetrators enjoy their freedom and glory in the eyes of the public? This leaked clip was not just evidence of injustice, but also a sign that power can alter important judicial decisions. Right after the clip went viral and posts criticizing the case began flooding social media, women's rights organizations and the LGBT+ community organized protests demanding a reinvestigation into the case. These protests attracted thousands of participants, including many celebrities who spoke out calling for justice for the victims in the case. They demanded not only that Diddy face responsibility for his actions, but also that the legal system change to ensure that everyone, regardless of their power, is held accountable for their actions. Although the protests could not change the outcome of the case, they sparked an important discussion about how the legal system handles cases involving power and money. Many people believed that change was necessary to protect the vulnerable and prevent those with power from continuing to manipulate justice. The future of Diddy and the victim. Diddy's case, despite ending with a light sentence in his smug exit from the courtroom, leaves behind a host of questions about justice, power, and fairness in society. Although he has avoided the most serious charges, Diddy cannot escape the long-term consequences of this case, and public dissatisfaction with the trial may continue to linger. At the same time, Diddy's victims, who have suffered not only physical violence but also emotional manipulation for a long period, still face irreplaceable trauma. They are the ones left behind. In a case where justice seems to have been swayed by power and money, after being acquitted and released, Diddy may continue to enjoy his life without facing serious legal consequences. However, that does not mean he will avoid significant challenges in the future. While the legal system may have been lenient with him, public opinion will not be so easily forgiven. Diddy will have to contend with a wave of criticism from the public and the media, who cannot accept that power and wealth allowed him to escape such serious crimes. One of Diddy's greatest challenges will be the collapse of his public image. With the lenient verdict, the public will not easily forget the allegations he faced. Diddy may spend the rest of his career trying to rebuild his image, which will be difficult as the scandal has deeply damaged the trust of fans in the community and the entertainment industry, where image and reputation are everything. Diddy will need to find ways to regain public trust if he doesn't want to see his career fade into obscurity. To do this, Diddy may need to change how he operates, possibly even separating himself from the brands and partners that have been tied to him throughout his career. Companies Diddy owns or collaborates with may face a decline in brand value if they continue to associate with him. Losing support from partners, customers, and the community is inevitable, unless Diddy makes strategic moves to rehabilitate his reputation. One of the measures Diddy could take is to rebuild his personal image through community involvement or a new media strategy. However, this poses a major issue even if he can start over. Will the public truly forgive the actions of his past? Will he be able to overcome the skepticism and criticism from those who were once his loyal fans? Diddy may need to change not only his professional approach, but also his attitude toward while he showed smugness after being acquitted, if he genuinely wants to recover and continue to succeed, he will need to find a way to show humility and be willing to face the consequences of his past actions, rather than merely continuing to assert his power and influence. Diddy has escaped serious charges, but has justice truly been served? Public reaction and dissatisfaction with the verdict still have not ceased. Will Diddy face the consequences of his past actions, or will he continue to live under the protection of power? Leave your thoughts and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to stay updated on our next analysis video.